the way you've seen in other establishments.
Right.
So I was trying to get a sense of that.
And if it's not sort of an entertainment strip where there are a lot of bars, there are probably fewer police officers hanging about. You know, a lot of bars hire police officers as security.
Right.
So yeah, so this is a place where, I mean, Thousand Oaks, like you said, it's a suburb.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about strip malls and residential property,
right.
basically.
So it just makes me wonder if this suspect had some kind of a connection with this establishment, to know where it is, you know, to target it, because, you know, and you heard Sheriff Dean say that they don't know if this is an act of terror, but they have to treat everything. They have to entertain all possibilities. It could be an isolated event. It could be something much more than that. Mm-hmm. And to me, it strikes me that the location and where it was, the suspect would have to have some kind of a connection to it.
Not making any connections at all, but Pulse is exactly what I thought of, right? And we learned after the fact that he had gone there before, not just to case the place, so to speak, but he had gone there socially. And, you know, some of the people very close to him didn't know that he was frequenting the bar because it was a gay bar.
That's right. That's right. So that's what I just was going through my mind. And I guess, you know, I think one of the things that police officers do is, as Captain Karijian just explained to us, is all of these mass shootings that have tragically occurred in this United States go into this sort of database and informs the training that these police officers undergo. It's the same for us. As we cover more and more of these mass shootings, you start to see certain things that in hindsight appear to lead to some level of understanding and to motive, and that's why I was trying to figure out what the deal was there. We're going to learn about everything there is to know about this individual because, as you heard from Captain Karijian and from Sheriff Dean, the FBI is on the scene. They're working with them. I'm pretty sure by this afternoon we'll have the name, we'll know who he is, where he came from. We might not have a motive, and we may never have a motive, but we'll at least have some more details on this individual.
Yeah, all right. So we're going to dip back into the local news coverage in Thousand Oaks, California. It's actually WCBS, so let's take a listen.
From everybody who was inside the club, one thing that they were talking about was the camaraderie, you know, people that they didn't even know, picking them up and pushing them through a window to safety, and strangers carrying each other. It just was that state of just trying to help each other and get to safety, even though you're inside a club where there are no clear exits. It's dark, there's smoke everywhere, so they start breaking windows, just trying to get out. And young men inside the club were helping young women they didn't know to safety and telling each other to get down. And the saddest part is some of the people who were at the club were at the Route 91 festival in Las Vegas as well, so they already had survived one mass shooting not that long ago.
It's just the worst type of irony, isn't it? To know that you were at one mass shooting, also involving country music, and then to be here in Thousand Oaks, and the same thing happened all over again. That young man who we spoke with, who had helped people through the window, he said he knew he had to do it, he wanted to help others, and he got out at least 30 to 35 people. Wow. Students from Pepperdine, students from Cal Lutheran, students from Cal State Channel Islands, from Moore Park College, all gathered together to have just a nice time at this country music bar, as they often do every Wednesday night.
Yes, it's something that happens every Wednesday. These are college students, but also some of these students were bringing their parents. One young girl was celebrating her birthday, waiting on friends to arrive. That's why so many people thought it was a joke. That's what we keep hearing over and over again this morning. They thought it was all a joke. And then when they realized it wasn't the speaker, people just tried to help anybody. Men were telling women to get down. It was just a chaotic situation, not knowing what was going on.
And we heard earlier, Suzanne, the sound of the gunfire, and people thought they were firecrackers. They didn't expect something like this, obviously, to happen. And as soon as they figured it out, a lot of them ducked for cover. A lot of people just unclear of what was going on. And unfortunately, the gunman threw smoke bombs to try to create chaos, to confuse people. People tried to leave through the front entrance. Some of them used bar stools and chairs.
All right, we're going to break away from our station in Los Angeles, KCBS. Our Chris Martinez is on the scene there, Chris. We heard the press conference from Sheriff Jeff Dean. What more are you learning? I know you and Carter Evans have been talking to some of the survivors.
We have, and they all just described just an unbelievable scene and a horrific scene at that. What you were just hearing a minute ago, people thinking that it wasn't real. People weren't sure what they were hearing at first. and then that turned into this mass panic and this mad rush to get out of the building. We're hearing stories from people saying that people broke out windows and they were jumping from second floor windows to get out. And as you heard there a moment ago, strangers were helping strangers to get out of the building in any way they could, while others were hiding, some in the restrooms at this bar, some in the attic. Witnesses are telling us that they heard dozens upon dozens of shots fired. And at this point, there's still some questions in terms of how many weapons were inside this bar and how many weapons were actually fired in this. But you heard the numbers a few moments ago from that sheriff's press conference, 13 dead total. That includes the shooter. So we have 11 victims, one sheriff's deputy who was shot and killed, and then the gunman as well. We don't really know anything about the gunman at this point. They haven't released a name yet. They certainly haven't talked at this point about any sort of motive here. Or why he would have chosen this of all places to carry out this act. But certainly as we get on here in this investigation, which is likely going to take quite some time, hopefully we're going to start to get some of those answers.
Chris, did anybody talk to you about what the scene was like inside this bar at the time of the shooting? How packed was it? What was going on?
It sounds, by all accounts, as though it was very crowded. This is a weekly event. There were a lot of college kids here. This is an 18-and-up night. And as you were just hearing a minute ago, someone was listing some of the colleges around here, Pepperdine, Moore Park. There are a lot of schools in this area, and this seems to be a very popular gathering place on Wednesday nights because they have this college event. So by all accounts, we're hearing that there were hundreds. The one estimate I heard was possibly as many as 500 or 600 people inside. We don't have an official count at this point, though, in terms of how many people were actually there when this happened. But it does sound as though there was just an unbelievably mad rush to get out. And once people realized what was actually happening inside, they were doing everything they could to get out to safety.
Yeah, and part of the reason why we've sort of been focusing on that question, I guess, Chris, is because you pointed out something that's sort of interesting to us. My first thought when the news started breaking was, it's a Wednesday night, and it just struck me that it seems kind of random. It's not a weekend where you would expect a lot more people. But then when we got the preliminary reports that there was some kind of a college night event at this bar, again, it made me just think about if there was some kind of a connection between the suspect and this location. And the fact that you're hearing that there may have been, a couple of hundred kids there is certainly disconcerting.
It is, and I mean, there are still at this hour, all around us on all sides, there are still a lot of people here, dozens upon dozens of people here who were inside when this happened. A lot of folks aren't quite ready to leave just yet. From what we're hearing, this is a very popular event, weekly. There are a lot of people, a lot of college kids that come here every single week specifically for this. So whether that was a factor here, whether this person knew that this was going to be a crowded venue on a Wednesday night, possible, I suppose, and that's something, no doubt, that investigators are going to be looking into as they try to figure out why here. I will tell you that where we are physically in Thousand Oaks is literally right off the 101. I can look at it right here. I could throw a rock and hit it. And the bar's right here. So this is a very easy to get to place. It's very central to a lot of these schools that we're talking about. I think perhaps that's part of the draw and why so many kids converge here, perhaps to meet up on Wednesday nights. So this isn't some place that's out in the middle of nowhere. This is right here and very easy to get to. And fortunately for a lot of people inside, there were several directions for them to run once they got out.
I know you got to run, Chris. It's something that I think as you continue to do your reporting out there, it'll be interesting. I just thought of, as Chris mentioned, that the location of this bar is right off the 101. My first thought was, well, where's the suspect's car? And I'm sure if it's in that parking lot, if there's a parking lot there, police officers will know exactly who he is by just figuring out what the license plate. But I know that that's something that you're going to be looking into as well. So, Chris, thank you so much for your reporting. We'll check back in with you a little later. We appreciate it.